Hi, it's Roger here with the Q&A for May. This is our May Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind Q&A, so welcome. I am in Vision Villas today. This is our nice little logo up on the wall, and I am going to be jumping right into it because we've got some great questions today from the looks of it. Why don't we do this? Let's go back to front today, which means that we're going to start with all the green level questions. And for those of you new to the call, the actual coding that I do for the questions isn't about which level you're at, it's about which level the question is at, because sometimes we ask a question at a different level, and that means that we can group them all together. So all the green level questions, which is where I'm going to start, are going to be all around building team, like how do you actually grow the system, because you've already got your customer pathway at yellow level, now you're building your talent pathway. That's the kind of idea, right? And then we're going to get onto all the yellow level questions, and then we'll continue all the way through, and all the general questions, because some of you have questions that don't have anything to do with Lighthouse, we'll leave them to the end. Okay, so let's start here with Jung, who says, topic, attracting great team. See, green level, team. Can you please elaborate on the tactical things we can do to attract good team members? So, first of all, you're going to make sure that you're already strong yellow level, which means that you've got an ongoing flow of customers, because if you don't, getting the right team is going to be really tough. Now, if you're in startup mode, you've got some friends together and you're like, hey, we've got this idea, let's work on this together. Be okay with a number of people coming together with you, or even peers. You can work with each other where you're just trading time to support each other, provided that you are not putting a huge amount of expense into it. But the moment you start actually building an operational team, they're the ones that are going to show up for work every single day, that expect a salary, that expect to get paid, you can't do that if you don't have a consistent revenue coming in, which is why you need customer pathways in place already, which is why yellow level is so important to do before green, because a number of people I've seen that try and start in green level, which is like trying to start in fourth gear, and then they collapse as a result of it. So the first step, Jung, is to make sure you're strong yellow level, which means you've got predictable cash flow coming in, right? That's the first thing. If you haven't got that, don't go try to build a team yet, unless it's a contract team or people that are getting paid on the results as opposed to on a salary. If you're at a point where it's like, hey, I'm ready to start bringing some people on board, then the key to actually attracting the right team is having a really awesome mission. Have a page which is now your company page. Company page actually are better for attracting team than they are for attracting customers, right? Product page is the best for attracting customers. So so we always say that have personal pages at the beginning of yellow level, which is for the conversation. Have product pages by the time you get to the middle to the end of yellow level, which is all about conversion, and then have company pages by the time you get to beginning of green, which is all about credibility, right? So it's the 3 C's, which is all around first of all conversation, and then conversion, and then credibility. So have that in place. That's the next thing. And then people go, oh, I want to be part of this because of where you're going. And then the next thing is have some really solid proof. Have some partners already that you're working with to say, hey, look who we're working with. Here's the partners. So people get stability and they feel, hey, this is the kind of company I want to work with. And then the final thing is have a culture, right? And the culture, if you go onto SlideShare, look at all the different culture codes. All the best companies in the world have a culture. They're the ones having people queuing in. And the easiest way for you to see what's a really great way to be able to actually bring on board team members is go look at any company that you love. Maybe it's Starbucks, maybe it's like Apple, right? Maybe it's Tesla, whatever the company is that you like, and just go and actually look for Tesla jobs, right? Or Tesla hiring, right? And see how they put together their page to attract team members in the first place. And you'll see they all have a very similar style of actually how they actually treat their talent pathway, of how they look after people who want to actually be interested in working for them in the same way that at yellow level you have a customer pathway. So just keep that in mind. First of all, there's a number of different things you need to have in place, but you need to be at the right level before you start really building a solid team. Otherwise, you're going to end up with just overhead and a lot of worry. The yellow octopus. So next thing, Paulina and Tyrrell, we have here thick laser. We see the potential to expand our business by buying into one of our 2 largest customers, maybe long-term, take over to increase diversity, revenue, client base. This will also ensure steady growth in production at FIC. What do we need to be careful of or need to consider when we go down this route, and how do we approach a client to create a collaboration or a partnership? So it just so happens that Paulina and Tyrell are actually part of our Crystal Circle group. So I actually answered this question already during this month, but I'm going to repeat the answer here because I think it'll be valuable for each of you who might be in a similar situation. So it turns out that because they have a laser cutting business and they happen to have a company that does a whole bunch of products which are for cars, like trailers and things like that, which uses the laser cutting business to cut the metal to turn into those trailers, and then they actually sell those, and it probably accounts for $1 million worth of revenues as a result of all of that coming through. And now this guy is actually saying, hey, you know what? I'm actually looking potentially to sell my company, or maybe sell some of it to you, or to exit in some way in the future. So what I actually shared with Paulina is the most important thing is painting the picture of the future. When you're ever going to get into any partnership with anybody, is ask them the question, well, where do you want to see yourself in the future? What does it look like? And give them a chance to basically share what they want it to be, because who knows? Maybe he wants to keep on getting ongoing cash flow forever. Maybe he wants to just kind of sell out so he can go buy a house or something. You don't know that until you ask. So it's actually getting that picture of where they want to go, and then you actually paint the picture of where you want to go as well. Very difficult at point blank range to get a meeting of minds, right? But if you've got a pathway to go to, it's very easy to both all move towards that same pathway. So get an agreement on where you want to go in the future. Say, hey, we think we could put something together that will work for both of us to get us to where we want to go to. And then from there, then say, well, then what does the deal need to look like? And that's when you start looking at what actually is going to make the most commercial, reality, or what's going to work for the deal itself. And in their case, I gave the example to say, let's imagine, for example, that he actually was quite happy to give up some of his shares in his company, provided the company was going to grow. Let's imagine that you could see that it was possible to make a 25% increase in his profits by the way that you could actually support him, both in lower margins for yourself, and at the same time for higher volumes in how you could help market him, so that he could see that he could actually increase the profits by like 25%. And then you get 25% of the business, which he goes, well, great, it's a bigger pie now. And so as a result of that, I don't actually lose anything. It's like a win-win. So there's always a way to craft it, but you always have to start with saying, where do you actually want to go? And that's pretty much where we went. So we'll give you an update as we evolve down that pathway, which would be awesome. Here's Camilla from Ouroboros. Hi, Roger. My question this month is about flow. Getting into flow is different from the different energies, and it is also sometimes different depending on the focus or task at hand. Very correct. It's a rhythm to be danced, and when out of step, we find our way back in, and building a team allows us to spend less time in energies that we're not of a natural flow, and that's what I'm getting at. My question is not about getting into flow, but rather once in flow, what are your best strategies to keep increasing or fueling the flow? And then she's got in brackets whether it's referred to as superflow, tapping into principles of synchronicity, abundance, or other. Great question, Camilla, and some of you are probably finding yourself in that place, which is like, wow, everything's coming my way, right? So how do I actually stay in flow? So number one, first thing to do is focus. I think about it like if you're like on a train track and you're moving, you don't want to fall off the train tracks. So what most of the time what happens is people who are in flow, they fall out of flow because they try and take on too many new things. Because one of the things that happens with flow is more stuff comes your way. So now you've got people saying, hey, I want you to help me do this thing, or here's a great opportunity. And everything looks great. So it's like, I'm going to do all these things. No. You got to keep really, really focused at what's your end game? Where are you aiming to go to? Where's your flight path? Because when you're in flow, it's more important than ever to keep really focused at it. And for all of that energy that comes into flow, it will then energize you to go down that path as well. Whereas you lose focus and you suddenly take on too many things, then all of a sudden you don't even know which direction you're going in anymore, and then the flow actually drops, right? What you call super flow, I call momentum, right? Momentum is when everything moves in flow with you, right? It's like when you're in the flow of the current, it's going to keep you in that flow as well. So keep sensing, okay, what's taking me out of flow now? What's keeping me in flow? All right, and by not taking too many things on, am I actually staying with the flow of where I should be instead of trying to create new things? It's like the fire's growing and you throw more wood on the fire and you wonder why it goes out, right? So this is about really making sure you're not overdoing anything and you're actually taking the time out. So that's the second thing. First thing, focus. Secondly, take time out, because flow doesn't require as much as your effort anymore. So if you're in flow, you should be saying, right, if I just put all my effort into flow, I'm going to burn out. I'm going to burn everyone else out as well. But now that I'm in flow, everything's moving, let the universe set its magic. So whenever I see myself like everything truly getting to flow, I'll take the time out. I'll cut my hours short. I'll go for a walk. I'll go for a trip, right? I'll do things that actually allow me to actually let the flow really move forward and actually move in that particular way. The third thing that I'll always do is I'll always focus as much as possible at who around me is closest to also being in flow if I'm in flow. So how can I just focus at keeping them in flow, right? It's like in a football game, right? If you've got like the team starting to get in flow, one or two people are just in the right time, right place. They're watching and seeing how can they help others get into that same zone so everyone's in the zone together, right? And if you do that, then you're going to stay in it for much longer because they're going to help you to get into it. Whereas if you're in flow and they're not, they're going to pull you out of flow because basically they're working at a different pace in a different way. Three things. Keep them in mind, right? Because that's what's going to allow you to stay in flow. And yeah, I mean, like at the moment in life, I'm definitely in a lot of flow of things I'm doing. I'm having to watch it all the time because once you get to that sweet spot, you don't want to lose it, right? You want to keep it for as long as you can. It's like playing a musical instrument, right? It's like once you get in flow, everyone can feel it. Everyone's dancing. And then it's like, well, how do you actually manage this in a really effective way that continues? Also, one final thing I want to say before I get on to my yellow level questions here are Flow's a rhythm. It's like a concert, right? You can't just keep on playing high energy music the whole time, right? You got to go the high, you got to bring it down to the low, you got to bring it back up again. So there's a rhythm and a pulse to it, where it's like everyone's moving together, and then you take the time out, you celebrate, you come back again, the next one, right? And we find that normally like a 3-month pulse is a really good pulse, where the whole thing like really takes off, and then it kind of like settles, and everyone's celebrating the last month, and you've got time to then set up and organize the next run, and then off you go on the next one as well. Or it's like you see people, they just stay on the wave for too long, the wave crashes, and then they wipe out, right? So you don't want that either. So just be very aware that flow occurs largely because you're on a wave, right? It's not just about you getting into your flow. You're on a wave with others that are getting to flow because of a particular promotion you've got, because the market itself is in a wave, right? And then as a result, you're feeling that wave, and then you move on to the next one as well. And it's a beautiful feeling, but you really get like the sense of humility, right? It's not about you. It's about the fact that you've actually just harnessed the energy of the universe, and you can feel the power of that as well, which is like super awesome. All right, okay, so who would think we're talking about business here, right? So here we are next. We have Patrick and Relihan, bypass.net. They have a company which is providing safety products online, which fundamentally means like, for child safety, so you don't get stalkers, personal privacy, all those kind of elements that parents want for their kids, but actually we should all really have for ourselves as well. And there's this massive shift towards privacy that's going on online at the moment as well. So ideal, and they're already providing these tools for big service providers, but at the same time, they're now looking at how they do this to really go global, right? So we have decided to rebrand the business, which deals solely with telecommunication companies. And in doing this, have also put together a revised marketing strategy, which is going to be focused at raising brand awareness and brand reputation by encouraging these companies to provide protection to their users. So we have initially been doing this by speaking at internet and online safety conferences. However, our marketing experience is limited, and we need help in understanding what is the best B2B marketing strategy for this arm of the business. So I will share this as a strategy. So we have some marketing questions here. We've got some like product design questions. Here's a marketing question. Be very, very aware that whenever you're solving a company problem, you're really starting by solving a personal problem. Like the company problem, which is we need to be more safe with our services that we're providing online, is also the personal problem for the person who is head of that part of the business. Now, I don't know enough about the market to know, is this the marketing head? This could be the person who actually is in charge of new services, packaged services on the platform. You'll know who that person is, but there's someone where that's their personal problem. They wake up every day saying, my problem today is to show to my management that I've got some really good opportunities for us to actually add value to our entire service offering because of these packaged products that we have. So what's the next thing I need to be finding, right? So they're trying to solve their personal problem, which happens to be the company problem too. So it's way easier to go and find the person where you can solve the personal problem than you can going out just trying to basically do talks and hoping the right person happens to be there. The good news is today we have got all sorts of platforms. LinkedIn's a really good one to find exactly the people you want. So what I would do if I was you, I would get a top 20 list, hot 20 of the companies you really, really want to work with. I would go and identify exactly who are the 2 or 3 people who are the decision makers within every single one of those companies that are the ones that you would need to convince in order for them to say yes to your product and have your product come on board. And I would go and research every one of those people, right? You can find them on LinkedIn. You can go search for them, get a premium level if you want to, and go just find those people and then say, well, what was the most recent things those guys have done? They've probably got a Twitter account where they're posting their own stuff. You can go stalk that person, find out what are they most interested in, right? You can comment back on their stuff so they get to know that you're interested in who they are, right? And then off the back of that, you then actually can see what it is that they're really looking for and whether you're a fit. By you then going and saying, hey, I want to connect up with you and have a chance to show you that what you're doing at the moment in this area, your competitors are actually doing this at a whole different level, and we want to talk to you about this, right? And you can actually, as a result of starting that conversation up and getting to someone, get to their sweet spot of what it is that you could do to add value to them as well. Building the trust, building the relationship, each one of those is the only way today to get there without a big, shotgun approach trying to get to everyone. And most people don't go to that level to really just understand and see that. It's like a web designer, right? If you're a web designer, you're trying to get a new web designer, you're a photographer, right? It's one thing to go out saying, I'm just trying to pitch for business. It's another thing to take their best web design and say, here's 5 things I do differently, which will immediately get you this result on your website. Or here's the last photography you did. Here's an example of photography I would do for you, right? And here's the difference of how good it is. And I'm happy to give you more of this in order to just prove myself to you, so I want to work with you. Like, from people that can see you're delivering something of high value, why would they say no? But for most people, if you just come and say, do you want to work with me? They're like, I don't know. Like, are you any good? How would I know? And they don't have the time to invest in that as well. So give them the solution before you ask for the payment, right? And then once they've got that, they'll go, wow, I want more of this. And then they're going to actually want to work with you too. So show them the comparison of what they're doing compared to what you want to do. That way of direct targeting is like the sniper approach as opposed to shotgun. And it works every time today. And that doesn't mean stop doing all of those different speaking engagement, but be more focused within that area. That's what I would say. Heather Watson. Hi, Roger. We need to focus on building our team of healthcare professionals. What would be your suggestion for a compelling way of introducing the bigger picture of vision, purpose, impact to inspire suitable people to join our community? And then in brackets, since writing this question, I've watched Paul Dunn's micro degree on B1G1. So that's actually now in our micro degree section, which is super awesome. And a great way forward, but still interested, which is a great way forward, but it's interested in your thoughts. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. So, you could actually say this is almost like a green level question because it's about team. But I put it here in the yellow level question because it's about community. It's like, how do I actually really, do we actually get everyone all into this community together? So something I'll share with I think is really super important is your vision and your mission has got to be front and center in terms of what you do. Like, for example, like for us, our biggest free group on Facebook is called the Entrepreneur Movement. And it's all about the Entrepreneur Movement. And the videos that I do are all about why now's the time that we should be the ones that are out there changing the world through the 17 United Nations Global Goals. Not everyone joins because of the why, but many people will stay because of the why, right? They might join because of what they want or what they need, right? Because they're basically saying, I'm looking to try and improve my business. I'm looking for ways that I can actually support it. But as people start actually getting those improvements, if they're like, oh, Roger's just offering the same stuff as everyone else, why is he even doing this in the first place? If they can't answer those questions easily, they're like, maybe I'll just go to someone else. But if they say, oh, there's a bigger why that we can all join in on together, and it's a why which is like, like that I'm passionate about, it's like why I'm doing what I'm doing, that I know I'm going to be there long-term doing this, then of course it's going to make people actually not just show up, but be of support within the community and want to give back to that community as well. It's kind of like the destination of all the fleet of ships, and the community is your fleet, where everyone's like, why would it go in a different direction if we're all heading to that direction? So that is the most important thing, to actually put that front and center. Now, what could that look like? We put it together in terms of our, what we call our Entrepreneur Blueprint 2030, right? So if you go onto SlideShare, you'll see Entrepreneur Blueprint 2030 is basically a 16-page document which lays out what we're going to do between now and 2030. And now what we're doing for World Game, which many of you have now heard about because we're launching it right now. The World Game, which launches on 10th of June, allows us all to go in and play this game of the first of 12 different years up to 2030, where we actually all get to make impacts through Buy One, Give One. We all get to track our earnings through Genius Dollars, and we get to rank by city. We get to rank by United Nations Global Goals. It's like super awesome the way it's all going to roll out. But for me, that's the game, right? That's why we're here. And so two things. First of all, be really clear on where you're going, and number two, be really clear on the rules. Turn it into a game if you can. Turn it into something that actually makes people want to show up and be a part of it. And it doesn't need to be as blatant a game as the World Game, where we just go out there and actually go, wow, look at the game we're playing. It can be very much about, here's the levels you can play at, or here's the certifications, or here's the awards, so people know there's a way to be acknowledged, a way to be recognized for being part of the community as well. That's what I would do if I was in your case. And I know we have some similar questions further down as well, which kind of link to this as well. Okay, slightly different question here. Jasper, hi Roger, also from Ouroboros. So those of you who don't know Ouroboros works in Sweden, Norway, all on circular economy. So all about how do you actually be more sustainable within your business. We're working on our own USP, unique selling point, as well as helping a client position and develop their sustainable solutions, which includes finding their USPs. We are building upon the model that you gave us, 3 different key selling points, where one is quantitative business value, 2 others are tangible business values as well. I find this a value, but my question comes out of also reading Simon Sinek's book on starting with why. He argues that people buy because of your why, and that should be at the center of your USP and pitch as well. Any reflections on this? Okay, Jasper, yes, I do have a really important reflection on this, which is the difference of a company and a product. So as you're at yellow level, moving forward in yellow level, or even when you're speaking with someone, people are looking for a solution to a problem. Companies don't solve problems, products solve problems. But companies have products, right? So basically you've got to split the two up. When you talk about your company, as I was saying earlier, you've got to start with your why, right? Everything that Simon says is right for the company, right? So basically, if you're saying, hey, why would I want to work with, Entrepreneur Resource? It's because Entrepreneur Resource is the home to the entrepreneur movement. It's there are right now, reaching 40,000 co-working spaces around the world, but how many of them in paradise, right? So we create a home for the entrepreneur movement in the places where people want to be, with resorts, with beach clubs. It starts with the why, right? But when someone is like, okay, so I'm looking for a place to run my retreat. Should I run my retreat at Vision Villas in Bali, right? So now it's all about the product, right? If we start by saying, the reason that we do what we do is because we actually are home for entrepreneurs, that's not relevant anymore, right? It's like, they're like, just tell me, like, is this the place I should be running my retreat? So you put why at the beginning, at the green level, at the company level, you put why at the end of the yellow level, of the product level. So we talk about the P's, right? And there's four P's which are the most important P's. Every product video, every product page, if you want a conversion, has got to start not with your big why, but with the customer's why, which is the problem you're going to solve. So the first P is the problem I'm going to solve, which is what's in it for me? Why am I even listening to this? So it's like, okay, so your problem is that you're actually looking for a place to run your retreat. And the real question is like, where's the best place to run a retreat, given that you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for the best tools? And the biggest problem is that in most places, they overcharge you. You have to share with all these tourists. They don't have the setup for you. The Wi-Fi is terrible. People are like, yep, tell me about it. Those are all my problems, all right? So like, then the second thing is the promise. Promise is your solution to that problem. Promise is the what you're going to deliver. We deliver a full-out solution for you where we solve all those problems because we have got the best Wi-Fi, like in the city, in the country, on the beach, and it's also tailor-made for entrepreneurs. So someone goes, bing, that's the right thing for me, right? So the next thing is they go from basically frontal lobe, which is like, does that hit my vision, to then now left brain, which is like, but at the same time, does it work for me? And this is the product. So you're going from promise to then so you're going from problem to promise to product. Product is how, like this is the left brain, which is, okay, so how is this actually going to work? Well, the way it works is that we actually have better rates than anyone else because we're actually owning our own resort and we're part of a global network of resorts which are the home to entrepreneur movement. We, at the same time, are giving you basically the tools with the webinar space, with the videos, with the Wi-Fi, and at the same time with a library, which actually gives you all the knowledge that you need. Plus, we actually have a whole series of mentors. So if you need one of our mentors to come and actually work with you, you've got them on call as well. This is like the reason that we are the #1 entrepreneur spot in Bali. So straight away, it's like, oh, that's the how. Well, that totally makes sense to me. And then the final one's proof, which is like, who's actually part of this? Like, how's this all linked in? It's like, we're already linked in with Entrepreneurs Institute, which is like the largest network of entrepreneurs in the world. We already have been running over 100 different retreats through our doors over the last 5 years. Here's all the different people and their testimonials of what they thought and why they thought it was such a great place. It's like, that's the proof. It's like solid. That's like the right brain, which is like, who's involved in all of this, right? So those are the 4 P's to begin with. And then you get your final P's, which is price, right? Which is how much. And then purpose, which is what's the bigger why, right? So you do have the why in there as well, which is at that point, and here's the price per day if you want to actually rent out our place. And the bigger reason you might want to do this is that we also, as Vision Villas, are giving to charities because we believe everywhere we are, we're the home to entrepreneur movement, where we can make a difference, and here's the difference you'll make by actually being at our resort. So you get the idea, right? It's like, it's turning it on its head because you've got to actually then align to the right person in the right way. And hopefully that's helpful for each of you that are building your own videos or building your own pages. You can go to Indiegogo, Kickstarter, watch any video, they'll follow those P's, right? Because you have to do them in those order in order for people to actually tune in their brain, whole brain, to what it is that you're actually saying and be able to make a decision at the end of it without still thinking, I'm still not sure how, I'm still not sure who. Okay, I'm going through this quick, but hopefully that is helpful for everyone. Here is Sue Carter. Realized tonight I have had a 416% increase in my business over the last 10 months. So congratulations to you, Sue. Happy, frightened, not sure where to go or what to do now, except look at what I have been doing and replicate it over the next few months. Again, I had a large amount of my ideas taken and used by another business, which has cut into things rather hard. The obstacle is the way, just don't know how to get around this, as it's the second time it's happened this year. So Sue, a couple of things. First one is imitation is the best form of flattery. It hasn't cut into your business that much if you've actually quadrupled in size. It's probably cut into your thinking more, which is like, people are stealing stuff from me, right? There's a very good chance every single thing you're doing at the moment or so did not come from you, but it came from somewhere else. I truly believe that every thought that I have, every thought, including wealth dynamics, including wealth spectrum, it didn't come from me, it came from somewhere else. I could probably find I find similarities if I go and look at this profiling or the I Ching or other places. I give credit to all those different places to say, here's a combination of all those things. I just bring them together in a uniquely different way, which is unique to me. In the same way that you, Sue, will bring it together in a uniquely way that's different for you. In the same way that Richard Branson brings things together in a way that's uniquely... So many people like steal Richard Branson's ideas, right? So many people, and he'll give them credit for doing all of that. He'll be happy with that because his next idea is going to be even better. So the more you can give your ideas away, the more it's going to flow back to you in different ways as well. I still remember the story of Nadasit, who runs our Thailand operation, right? And he's got like $1 million business now. And I still remember the first time I met him when he came out to Bali. And I said, hey, Nadasit, how did you find out about our stuff? And he goes, oh, I did this kind of like fake wealth dynamics test that someone put together in Thailand. I go, really? Someone's doing that? He goes, yeah. Someone put together something where they pretended that it was like them that came up with it, but it was obviously not really that good. And so I just went online and I said, well, whose is this really? Because I thought it must be someone else's. And I found your name. And then I found all the stuff that you're doing. I was like, wow, this is really awesome. And so then that's why I contacted you. And the next thing, he's working with us. And if it wasn't for the fake version, they never would have found out the real version, right? And so the whole point about this, Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates, when he went to China, when he was like, heading Microsoft, and the guys in China were like, how does it feel that like there's more Microsoft software bootlegged and stolen than any other software out there, right? Any of your competitors. And Bill Gates says, well, if anyone's going to steal software, I'd much rather it's Microsoft software than my competitors, right? And so it's like, it's that validation that you're doing something right, but there's 7 billion people on the planet. It's not like we don't have a massive sea, right? So like, just because someone takes your water, if you're there saying, but that's my water, right? I got to have that water, you can actually then end up spending all your time unhappy about the water they take, and you're out looking for more, and for them to give you the water back. And you're focused at that one person that took your water, right? But if you basically live in a building or in a city where you can just go down the road and just turn on the tap and get water, if you can have water wherever you want, why would you keep that negative charge on the tiny bit of water that someone took from you? Why not go back and say, hey, if you're thirsty, here's some more. Like, seriously. Like, so your ideas is an ongoing hydrant of water that's like flowing, right? Money is the same thing, right? If someone steals money, it doesn't mean you can't make more. Now, it doesn't mean you want to be stupid and actually just kind of like give people a chance to steal. But at the same time, if people actually do that, just let it go, because at the end of the day, it's going to come back to you in other ways, and it's going to come back to them in other ways as well, right? So I don't spend any time worrying about those things. I just focus at how can I give away all my best stuff so I can then force myself to have to get even better. Because if you do not give away your best stuff, then you're going to limit how good you are. But you give away your best stuff, you've just set a new bar as to what you now need to create at an even higher level, and you can all do it. It's just for most of us, we're holding on to the past too much, right? So, Sue, that's what I'd say to you. You quadrupled, quadruple again, right? It's simple as that. And if that means you've got to go and share your stuff freely in a way that people go, wow, this is awesome, guess what? For every one person that decides to do it without you, there'll be 10 people who says, well, I might as well do it with Sue, because that's a whole lot easier to do it that way, because she's got more and more good stuff coming her way as well, right? By the way, each of us has a slightly different fire hydrant, right? Creators like Dynamos have like the ideas, Blaze have the connections. Don't worry if someone comes and takes a connection and doesn't give you credit for it. There's plenty more connections where they come from. Tempo has got like all of the transactions or all the connections to the market itself as opposed to the individual relationships. Steel has all the more ideas on how to improve things even better, how to get into more detail, right? So it's unlimited. So go and actually tap into that as well, which is where abundance comes in. Okay, John Williams, the Ideas Lab. I am currently promoting my Pioneer program, which is on pioneerprogram.com, but it's clear I need new prospects to market to. So what's your best advice for getting new people onto my email list? So you heard, so another marketing question, right? So we heard earlier what I said about community in terms of actually building a community. You also heard what I said around like if you are a company, corporate, going directly to LinkedIn as well. When you're at a point where John is basically working with entrepreneurs, which entrepreneurs that kind of like are in the middle of consumers, where they have consumer type behavior in that they make their own decisions and they use their own budget, but they also have corporate like tendencies as well, in that they've actually got more money they can spend than a normal consumer, right? Because they've got a business they're running as well. So you actually have to have a strategy which actually takes two into account. So for example, whenever we run a promotion, yes, we'll go out with basically a hot list where we say who are like the top 20 people that we're going to actually go out and target. And those top 20 will be top 20 individuals who will be our customers, and then our top 20 partners who will be people who actually are already having a community that are our ideal customer, and then we can see we can be of value to them. So that's the first thing, John, is to sit down and say, right, who actually is in my top 20 in terms of customers that should be on board here, that I'll do a pre-launch for, and I'll get onto pre-launches in a little bit. And then also who are going to be the partners that I'm going to get to partner, and what's going to make it so valuable for them they wouldn't say no to be a partner, because I'm going to put them in the book, I'm going to put their logos on my website, on my events, I'm going to package up some of their products together with my products, like make it so valuable for them. They go, of course I'm going to come and be part of this with you. And then of course you then have access to their customers, and their customers then get more value working with you than if they're just working with that person, right? So that's the first thing, right? Which is on the one side, that's kind of like the sniper approach, which is like just get directly to the person that you want. Then you've got the net. You've got the fishing line, you've got the net, right? So basically the fishing line is to go outbound. So when you're starting, you always want to go outbound. I know exactly where I'm going to go to. The net is the inbound. It's when people then get attracted to me and what I'm interested in, or what they'll find of interest to me. That's when you put your video together. It's when you put your landing page together. It's when you actually start getting a group and bring them on board as well. And when you're at a point, which I know you are, John, where it's all about the stories, it's about posting those stories. I mean, the amount of traction we get by sharing the videos that you've seen us do, where we actually just sharing the stories of what happens when people come on board, and then they get shared because we're like, oh, that's a really cool story. I want to share that with other people as well. So they're then going out there and sharing those stories too, right? Is that you just want to take the time to get those stories out there, so it's really, really super clear to people what the value is they're actually going to get to you. That's the most important thing. And then from there, take it one step at a time. This is the impact meter that we go through at Entrepreneur Fast Track. It's like, don't go out trying to find 10,000 people. Start by what would it take to just get 100, right? Like, where would I go to just get 100? Make it bite-sized. And then from that 100, it's like, right, now those 100, we're going to go out and we're going to get 1,000, right? And how long is it going to take us to get that 1,000? And you just take it step by step and actually go out there and be interested in other people and get them then interested enough that they want to come and join what you're doing as well, which means even to begin with, 10 a day, right? Just getting started. And then as those people then actually say, hey, this is interesting, I want to be a part of this, and they come on board and you invite people on board because of that, then you move beyond that as well. That's the way I would do that. Let's come over next. We are going to continue with our year level questions. We have one here, which is from Julie Stackpole, who says, hi, Roger. I think you are doing a marathon this last week. I hope it went well for you. Well, actually, I am about to take a plane from here in Bali to Perth, where we have our Perth Entrepreneur Fast Track on Thursday. And then I will be running the marathon on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I'll be in the Melbourne Entrepreneur Fast Track. So I'll just kind of like squeeze it in there. And that will be my first marathon, which I'm happy I'm doing before I turn 50. So yes, I hope it goes well. I hope I survive. All right, so, but thank you, Julie. I understand the basic principles of a pre-launch and a launch. What are your differentiating guidelines for each? Thank you. Cheers. Okay, so yeah, so I was just talking about this with John, the idea of a pre-launch. We find that the pre-launch often gets us even more results than the launch. The difference of a pre-launch is when you're going to the people who already trust you, who already know you, and you're telling them a launch is coming, and that they get special privileges by coming in first, right? So we've just done this with the World Game. We're launching the World Game. We're going out this week to the larger community. We went just to the people who already were like our VIPs, people in Crystal Circle. We actually went out to you guys, so you should have actually got an email on this as well, which basically said, hey, we're about to launch. You can come in first, which means that you can be the first in line to take on a city, to take on one of the steps like a master trainer where we fly you around the world and you become one of our speakers, right? And so we had all these people all join these things where they could see that there's going to be this rush of people coming in afterwards, and they're the first to come on board. If you go to any property developer, they always have got their list of people first, where if they're going to have a new development, they'll go to those like favored investors who already have actually bought with them and saying, hey, we've got this new thing that's going to come out. You get first choice, right? You know that with any IPO, right, there's always going to be that kind of like first group of people that people go to first and say, hey, do you want to come in first at a different price before everyone else comes in? And that's where they often fill up the entire IPO and it's fully subscribed before they even go to the public, right? So we're seeing this happen all around the world in every different industry where people are smart and know how to really make sure that they treat the people that already care most about them in a way that makes them feel super special. That's what a pre-launch is all about. You're going to your internal list to be able to do that. And then from that pre-launch, the launch is going out to the public. Sometimes you might even have 3 levels, right? Sometimes you might even have a pre-launch, which is like the super special people, and then the pre-launch. But don't worry about that until you get super big at green level. At the beginning, just be really careful to make sure that the people that already are treating you well, you treat them well as well, and you give them an opportunity to come on board early in the pre-launch stage. You'll find that a lot of digital marketers do this now, where before they would say, hey, you got to actually join this program and go all the way through before you buy something. Whereas now it's like, you know what, that's what we're going to be offering. You already know we're going to offer it. If you don't want to go through all that stuff because you really trust us, you can get one early and it costs this much money, right? And so people straight away just actually buy in directly at that point, even before you've actually got to that next level. We also did this with our IPO. When we listed our Entrepreneur Resorts company, we started by going to those people who are our VIPs, people already invested with us, and said, hey, the IPO is coming. You can come in early at a different rate. And then as a result of that, you then get that benefit when we actually list the company. And we actually got like 2/3 of all of the funding we needed even before the IPO actually happened, right? So those are all examples of what is the difference of a pre-launch and a launch. Let's come over to Branislav, who is from Czech Republic. Hi, Roger. My business is making garden design. And in December, we are selling Christmas trees in Slovakia. The company operates 4 years. There's been no significant growth yet. What would be the way to do higher growth, and what are the areas with high potential for exclusive and sizable gardens? I'd like to be a part of this segment. Total year sales at the moment about 130,000 euros. I'd like to make 5 times growth. Main problems are, number one, I do a lot of agendas by myself, my owners and managers, not enough cash flow to pay, lack of workforce, and so on. So here is the answer, Branislav. The fundamental core to this is, and it's for all of you with your businesses, is to start by saying, do I, number one, have the right value for your customer to solve their customer's problem? And then, do I want to magnify or do I want to multiply? So let's start with the value part, right? The huge difference going to someone who wants a bit of landscaping done because they've got basically a 3-bedroom house and they've got a little garden that they're running with landscape, compared to going out to a company where that company has got basically like massive amounts of landscaping to do because they're actually in the midst of an entirely new development, or they've got like a new headquarters that they're actually launching as well. And then there's also the middle ground, which is a huge difference, going to someone who's basically got like a a small a house for their family, compared to someone who is super rich or is in the expensive part of town, where they're actually now looking at a whole different type of landscaping that they're looking for to actually impress their neighbors, right? So you got to choose first of all the right customer and be the best for that customer. So if you actually say, well, what's the way for me to find times? Well, you can either go out and multiply by finding 5 times as much business, which isn't a great way to do it, especially because you're the one actually selling your time at the moment, or you can magnify to say, right, I'm going to actually start up a premium service where I'm going to make that premium service either specifically for companies that actually have got like the landscaping, right? And that might be, vineyards, right? It might be, ski lodges, right? It might be, which every year want to do something different in the summer than what they have when all the snow shows up. It could be for tourist centers that actually want to continue to have, or shopping centers that want to have continually new like designs in the gardens. And that could be one niche, where they all need a lot more than one of these clients that basically just wants their garden done once, and they want it on an ongoing basis, so you get ongoing contracts. Or like wealthy people that have bigger gardens, which again you can target directly and find those people, go to those neighborhoods and actually show them what you do and how you do it, right? And once you decide which is the one you want to go for, then go out and do some stuff, even if it's for free, right? Just to show what you can do, right? And then get that in the magazines, get that on your website, get that out there so people go, wow, that's awesome stuff. Show you've got the value first, and then you're going to start having the business come your way. That already could 5 times your business without doing any leverage. But if you then do that well, and you're now taking a place which is much higher profitability, and by the way, I'm talking about gardening here, but every one of you has a business where there is a high level customer that would be willing to pay you more money if you actually niched it in this way and created a branding around it. And I really do mean a branding. Toyota got into the luxury market by creating Lexus as a separate brand. They didn't call it like high-end Toyota, they called it Lexus, right? So be really aware that the branding makes a huge difference as well. And then once you've actually got that branded like service or product that you've created, you can then leverage it, right? And the way to leverage it is either by going and getting like bigger and better programs off the back of that, or multiplying it out by actually starting to build a team around it where you've got the margins now to do it, and you start training others up to do what you do, right? And you can even set an academy up, like a landscaping academy, which actually people can come on to actually learn what you do. I pay to do it, and then from there you find the right people that you can then grow with. We did that with Green School, where we actually wanted more teachers, so we actually created a teacher learning center where teachers could come in and learn what we do at Green School. We then found the best teachers, we made money as we did it, and then of course from there we then had more teachers, right? So that is the way I would advise you to go forward. Okay, Mark and Billy Robinson. Number one, if the answer was yes, what would it take for you to open the International Wealth Summit? See submission. And then also number two, confirm that free to register, have an upsell of recordings. Do we give them options of choosing which recordings and all of recording options? And number three, what other value proposition can we add to ensure it's a no-brainer for speakers to pay and promote? So this is the International Academy of Wealth, which Mark and Billy are running. And again, this is another example where I answered this question earlier, but I will share with you all what my answer was. I looked at what they were doing, and they had like a huge number of different speakers they wanted to have. It's a virtual event. It's all on different areas of wealth. And I said, like, we are moving from quantity to quality. Lots of people today are just done with these 100 speaker summits that you can go onto online. It's like, I just don't ever have the time to watch all of those. I said that the ones that are working today are the ones that have gone right up in quality. Like, just choose like 5 areas of wealth, like property, stocks and shares, cryptocurrency, business, whatever you choose, and have one exclusive person in each one of those areas who's just the best at what they do, and make it something more in-depth to each of those people, you have people who will be willing to pay more money for something more exclusive than to actually go out just getting like thousands at this point today. And don't expect they're all going to go out there and market for you, because everyone's kind of like tired of doing that. But if you actually do this in the right way, where you're packaging products together, and then at the same time you're putting that together as a much easier, simpler way for someone to get, I can come on board, I can get information on here, I can go deeper by paying for more, and then at the same time, if I want to get the whole package, I can do that too. That's a way, way better model that's actually working today. And especially if you actually build a community off the back of it. Like, gone are the days when people want to pay for content, right? So the content should be packaged up with community. People come for the content, they stay for the connection. So give them the 12-month community for people to then actually build up through that. Bring these speakers back as like speakers inside your mastermind group. And then off the back of that, basically people go, that's a lot more value. I'm going to come back because I'm going to get those live sessions with these guys as well. Those are the kind of things, and get Q&As and things that you wouldn't provide in the upfront, but you would otherwise. That makes all the difference, right? This is a perfect example. What we're doing here in Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind, where we do the live sessions, where I do these recordings, that gives everyone that sense of actually constantly getting value every single month, which then allows you to then execute, come back with your next steps, much more than just watching a whole bunch of videos and then going, well, now what do I do, right? So anyway, that's what I shared with Mark and Billy, and hopefully any of you doing a similar thing, that's valuable for you as well. Let's come over to Sigrun here, who has got a question here. Hi, Roger. I have a bookkeeping client who has 5 staff. The client recently employed an accountant who gets about 70% high-margin accounting type work put her way. The company wants to grow higher margin work and attract more accounting clients. So the owner is a creator and is working on the red level of the Millionaire Master Plan. One of the team is a Blaze, the rest a Tempo. The owner has put her hourly rate since we began working together up, and we've been working on creating a niche, which now is payroll. What strategies would you suggest as business for growing margin and attracting more high margin clients? So this is very similar to the gardening question, right? It's like, how do we go for the high level? And in the case of accounting, the best way to think about it is all accounting, or at least backwards and present accounting, which means doing my audit or doing my payroll, are going down to $0. They're all going down to $0. I mean, like, we're at a point right now where in Singapore, if you've got a business which is like, smaller than like $5 or $10 million, you don't even have to have an auditor anymore, right? They're just like, just submit your stuff, right? Because we're seeing that all of this stuff can be done so easily and systematized so easily and so easily tracked with like, online banking and everything like that as well. And with blockchain, it's going to get even more that way, right? So be very aware that if all your stuff is backward facing, then you're not really ever going to make any money, because you're always going to be competing on price, and eventually you won't be able to charge anything. So it's always about what's the forward facing stuff on accounts. So for example, the top accounting companies, they're working on mergers and acquisitions. They're helping companies to add value to their business. They're the ones that are actually building up projections for the venture capital firms and for the listed companies to actually show to their analysts, and they're getting a percentage of that growth. Like, the biggest accounting companies, they just have to take a small percentage of like a listed company or like a new merger and acquisition, and they're making millions of dollars compared to basically like just charging like $10,000 for $20,000 for the audit, right? So that's why they're all going that direction. So what I would suggest is for you, first of all, to choose what are the actual companies we want to work with. Because you might just work with the companies that are small mom and pop companies, not a good idea, because you're not going to be able to charge much. Or do you want to work with the fast growing companies, which means you can go target those fast growing companies, work together with entrepreneurs, and say, we're going to help you to actually grow. Good example, Jeremy Harris with Deborah Harris. They're doing this already in Australia with something called virtual CFO, where they're saying, well, you need a CFO now to think strategically for you on your accounting business. Like, we're accountants, we know how to do it. We'll charge you a fraction of what it would take to actually have a full-time CFO, and give you basically all the right questions to ask and give you all the right projections that you need to actually build value in your business, but for a fraction of the time, fraction of the cost, right? So that is definitely one step which is actually going down that route. Another example is Gloria Murray, right? So she's based in Scotland, also an accountant, where she's like, right, I want to do more than just basically provide people with numbers. I'm going to provide them with basically like a way to build the success of their business financially. So she has her title called Queen of Profits. So you can go and have a look at queenofprofits.com, where she basically has a mastermind group where companies come in knowing she's bringing in the accounts experience, but where her whole conversation is about how do we add value to your business, knowing your numbers, right? And as a result of that, people are on there, again, happy to pay the money because they know that they're actually going to get the value from each other as well as from her as to how they're going to actually improve their business. So we're all moving towards real-time accounting and moving forward. That's what I would say. Those are two examples, and you could do both if you wanted to. One is the virtual CFO service. One is the financial mastermind service, where each of them can actually make you a huge amount more money than trying to do audits and trying to do payrolls, right? That's the answer. The final thing I'll say is companies like Zero, right, they just said, well, why don't we just go and create our own platform where we can actually go out there and build something which is worth millions of dollars that everyone's going to want to use, right? And that's kind of like more green level thinking for later. But that's the key. That's where we're all going, is using financials as a tool for growth as opposed to just a record of the past. We have Sajid here who says, when co-creating your next product with your current customers, what is the best way to position this conversation? And what are the best questions to ask, including the one about the best price points? So, very tactical question, but a good question, right? So this is where you've actually already done the first like 2 levels of business. Level 1 business got 1 customer. Level 2 business got 10 customers. So you don't do this until you get to 10 customers, because then you've got enough customers who like what you do, right? And if I'm speaking to a customer that's you've really given value to, is I'd have a conversation and saying, hey, I'd love to have a conversation about where you're going next and how I can add as much value as possible to you, right? And at the same time, like, you've worked with me enough that I'd love your honest opinion on some things, right? Every customer is going to say yes if you deliver value to them. So now you're on a call with that person, and you're saying, like, first of all, like, just so I just getting some honest feedback from you, has working with me really been of value to you? I mean, I'm sure there's been some, like, things you'd want to give me on kind of constructive feedback, and we'll get to this, but overall, has it been of value? Why is that such an important question? Because for someone to actually say yes, it's been of value, it sets off the rest of the conversation. Because if they wanted to say, no, it's been terrible, right? Well, you might as well find that out first of all. And for them themselves, they might not have thought of it either way, which means if you just jump in and say, hey, I'm looking for a get, right? Then you're not actually getting them to acknowledge the give. But if they're actually saying, yeah, it's actually been great, then they're acknowledging the give. They're like, hey, you've already added value to them, right? Which means that fundamentally, bank account-wise, you're at a higher level than they are. You can take a deposit at this point, right? Because they're saying that, like, things are great. So you can then acknowledge that, and you can feel good about the fact you're at that point, and you've already had a successful conversation in the first 5 seconds, right? So once you've done that, then it's like, great, well, I'm glad you got that value, and I am going to come to the point where you can give me feedback on what we could do differently. But what I'm most interested in, so we can really guide this conversation in a way that can be really valuable for you and really valuable for me, so now you're framing the conversation, is I'm really interested in what's the biggest thing that you're looking to solve right now that I could actually potentially help you with. And I'm asking that because I'm really genuinely interested, because I really believe that the business you've got has got great potential, and I could actually help you with it in different ways where I could be of value. And the second thing is that once we've had a bit of a conversation with that, I'm actually really looking at the moment at how do I actually extend my product range now to help people like yourself that have actually come on board and helped us, so I can really build a business as well, right? Because I've been so focused at, like, my first 10 customers, which you're one of them, that I'm really ready at the moment to see what can I learn from this to be able to grow. So they're going to totally get the spirit of what you're sharing, what you're saying, and they're going to go, okay, well, yeah, I mean, you can help me because this is the next thing that I'm actually looking to do, or the next thing that I'm actually interested in. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I could definitely help you in that particular area, and you can go down that path for a little bit. They might say, well, actually, I'm pretty happy with everything else that's going on at the moment, right? In which case, that's never the truth, right? There's always something that could change. So don't stop there, because that means they just haven't thought about it yet. You could then say at that point, okay, but if you were to actually look a future, like a 12 months in the future, could you imagine a perfect world that would be different from the one you're in today? Like would it be exactly the same? Would it be something different? Oh no, it would be different. Well, what would be different? Well, I'd be bigger. Like I'd be like double the size. Would you be double as busy? No, I wouldn't be double as busy. No, I'd have a bigger team. It's like, oh, okay, so do you know everything you need to know to get that team in order? No, I don't know that right now. It's like, well, would that be a value? It's like, well, actually, that would be a value. So you always find out where the gap is, like even just by creating that vacuum, right? Which is like, where are you? Where are you going? Because you want to find that gap, because your whole goal is to actually be able to fill that gap. And until you can show your customer that you care about their problem more than they do, and that you're capable of solving their problem more than they can, then you can't get anywhere. But the moment you have that, then you've got that ability to be able to then deliver and to serve them really effectively, right? So that's the whole focus, is just find that spot. Once you've got that, they're going, hey, I didn't even think about that, and that's actually really valuable, right? So then it's like, right, I'm gonna figure out a way that I can help you in that particular area, right? And there's already now payback at the beginning because you gave them value, payback already because you're going to help them in the future as well. And then at that point, you could already be saying, and by the way, do you think, like from everything you've seen from what we've delivered in the first place, what would you give me as constructive feedback? This is where you give them the chance to give the feedback, right? In terms of like how we can improve on what we do. So now they can say, oh, it would be better if you did this, it would be better if you did that. Right? And you can say, and the reason I'm asking is because I'm looking to see how do we get from like 10 up to 100 customers doing the same thing that we did with you, right? And you're not asking them to buy the same thing again. You're giving them a chance to actually reflect back and say, this is where I go, right? And then once you've actually gone through that, take some of those notes because they'll be really valuable to you. And then from there, final thing is then say, well, I'm looking now to actually productize something for the next level on. You might have a few ideas of what you might think already. You say, I'd love to sound out a few of these ideas to you and just see what do you think here might be of value right? Either to you or to people you might know, just like because you now know me and you know basically what it is working with me. They go, sure, what is it? It's like, well, I've got this idea of doing this kind of like group session. I've got this idea of doing this workshop. I've got this idea of actually doing this like, system or service to provide at the moment over here. What do you think there would be of most value? And I go, oh, well, I think, that one there actually sounds of great value, right? Like that, I can see why people want to go for something like that. It's like, if I could actually package something like that together with what, we talked about earlier, which is helping you in leadership, would it be something you'd be interested in? It's like, actually, you know what? That would be interesting to me. And so you link it all together, right? But it's that conversation where it's true curiosity. You're really, really interested in what this person has to say, and you're really kind of like getting to a point where they can see that you really care, right? You guys have heard me say this enough times. People don't care what you think until they think that you care. You've got to start from that space, right? So that's the conversation, and every conversation becomes like a gold mine. That's the way you need to think about it, Suji. Gabby says, hello, Roger. I'm back in London. So this is from Gabby Media. Could you give me advice on how to build a physical presence and promotion for Mini Gabby, here to contribute to the online side? Many thanks. So this is your specialty, Gabby, right? To do physical paintings, to you've done already gallery, art installations, like to actually go out there and say, right, I'm going to actually do something which is going to be like what you told me at the beginning was what that part of the inspiration of this was, right? Like, get the wall of a building, right? Like go for the full graffiti thing, right? Actually get basically like a place where you can actually go out there and paint something which then actually becomes something physical that comes off the back of it. That would be the kind of thing that I think would be so awesome. Do you guys remember that whole, because for those of you who don't know Gabby, she has this Mini Gabby character, right? Which is a symbol for women freedom, right? And basically, like, now's the best time. I keep on saying this, like, there's one movement after another. There's been the whole women's movement. There's been the Me Too movement. There's been movement after movement, which is about women empowerment. And so, perfect time for you to actually have something that can actually really start to grow. You guys remember the whole like elephant, painting elephant thing, where they had like different artists that painted elephants, and then off the back of that, they then actually had the models that you can then buy, and they still have it today, and it all then gives back, to basically elephant charities, right? Imagine something that actually then contributed effectively, to stop, like sex trafficking, or that supported women in leadership, right? You choose the cause and you put something together that actually does the same thing, right? Put it onto Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and get it going as a crowdfunding campaign. You set the right things up in the right way. You've already got like the match that's lit, right? And then it's just a matter of just fanning the flames, right? So that was what I would do, and that excites me just even talking about it, right? So do something like that, right? Because that would be awesome. Paulina. Okay, so Paulina says here, hi, Roger. I know you're helping us with thick laser and crystal circle. So Paulina actually asked the question earlier, so I guess that's Terrell's question. But I was wondering if you could have a look at my website. This is my own thing. I want to use my experience and help business with strategy, change management, organizational culture. I'm doing the Flow Consultancy degree and iLab at the moment, which is awesome. And lastly, I'm now city leader. Oh, cool, awesome. I'm guessing in Queenstown in New Zealand. And I want to show this on my website as well as to show on the page and Facebook of our City Entrepreneur Socials. So my biggest question is, do you have any suggestions or opinions on the page so I can improve it? Your feedback on my current page is appreciated. Okay, so the page here is called leavepaststrategies.co.nz. So let's open it up, right? And if you're online, if you want to kind of like see what I'm looking at, you can just go have a look at it as well. It's called leavepast, P-A-S-S, and then strategies.co.nz, and it's also in the link here. Okay, so I come to the page, I'm opened it. It starts, it says, sign me up. Join our mailing list to receive the latest news and updates from our team. So the first thing I would say is that take that anything that you're writing is something where it's not clear to people. Hello. It's not clear to people exactly what is the whole point of this whole thing. So of course, no one's going to join something if it just says sign me up, join our mailing list to receive the latest news and updates from our team. But if it says something like, increase the sales in your business with these top 5 tips, or 10 ways to improve your leadership, download the guide here, right? And it says, if you're looking for the smartest ways to grow leadership within your company, these are the top 10 ways, tried and tested, used by the top leaders around the world. Drop your email and we'll give you the list, right? Then someone goes, oh, I know what I'm getting. I know why I'd want to do that. And then they're going to give you the details. And you can say underneath, subscribe or not to your newsletter, and people get to do that as well. But you'll then find that people are much, much more likely to actually click on that and do it than something like this that will click off because I don't even know what's in the newsletter. I don't even know what this website's about yet, right? So just be really aware of that for all of you around that. I clicked off that. It says leave past, take a break, and achieve the best for your business. And there's a picture of somebody looking out to sea. And there's a button that says learn more. So now I have to scroll. 80% of people who jump onto a page will never scroll. So at this point, it doesn't tell me enough of anything for me to do anything, which means I'll come here and then probably kind of click off. And because you don't have any faces on it, faces also keep people half the time or more. You don't have a face, you got the back of somebody. So you need to actually put faces in it. Look at any of our websites, you'll see there's faces on all of them. And on this one, because you've got that picture which is kind of grayed out, it won't impact. So you have to kind of change the photo, and then you also have to change the headline. Right now it says take a break and achieve the best for your business. It doesn't actually mean who is this for. So if you look at any of our pages, you'll see that on our pages we're actually saying, basically, like if this is specifically for leaders, for example, right, then this should actually have something which says very specifically whatever the problem is, whatever the solution you're going to give. Most leaders are overworked and underpaid. Is this you? Question mark, right? And then it's like, and then off the back of that, then you have something which is there, which is basically saying, like, find out the ways that you can 10 times the growth in your business while also, like, 10 times in your time off, right? Which is giving someone something that, of course, those are my words, but you can take your own words, but it's something that gives someone go, oh, okay, that's my problem, that's my solution, I want that, right? And then basically, like, click here for the next step. Don't ever say learn more, because people don't want to come to a website to learn. They're coming to the website to take action, right? So take next step, or basically, join, or whatever it happens to be, as opposed to learn more, because people don't like to click on something like that. And then it says optimize business today, free leave pass consultation, get started, and then basically, and the same thing here. It's like, what is a leave pass consultation? What does that do, right? So you actually want to explain that. Put a photo of a person, show that it's actually something can be done online, right? Show that it's basically like 30-minute consultation, which will actually give you like the top 5 assessments of your business and how ready you are to gain your own leave pass. I like the word leave pass. I think it's kind of cool. It's like you're taking a leave pass from your business, right? But actually create a little ticket, which is like leave pass, right? Qualified for one, right? And so people go, I want one of those things, right? That's what I need, and have something on there. When's the last time you actually, earned a leave pass from your business, right? So you get the idea. And then from there, it kind of rolls into more of the stuff. So nice little design. It's kind of clean. The rest of it, as you start scrolling, we'll get into more. I'm not going to go into more details right now on how you set up a web page. I can, if some of you want to go into more detail on some of this stuff on the next call, go into more detail. I could break down every step of the web page as to how you actually design it better. But I do want to actually make sure I get to everyone's questions on this call. So just in terms of those first little tips, for every one of you, you can be using those already within your website as a way to kind of improve it. Okay, so let's come now onto our red to orange questions. So we had majority of some of the yellow questions, but we have some pretty cool questions here. Red to orange. We have Tim here, attractarmchairinvestors.com. I have had an idea that I would like to develop but need assistance. It's for a small Bluetooth consumer electronic device, which I have no experience of, looking for people who might be interested in exploring this and helping with marketing and manufacturing. Who do you know who might be interested? Maybe a better question is, what technology would supersede Bluetooth? Well, I mean, the truth is Bluetooth is already superseded, right? I mean, like, other than being used for some headphones and for some like small devices, pretty much everyone's using more Wi-Fi to get linked in and linking everything collectively together, and everything's going to power cordless devices as well over the next year, right? So that's definitely going to supersede Bluetooth anyway. But I think there's a deeper question here, which is, it sounds to me like you've got a product idea. And my view is there's always going to be another product out there similar to what you've got, no matter what. It's just about going out and researching whatever this thing happens to be. And also, it's never about the product, it's always about the customer. So who's the customer you're serving, and are you absolutely sure that, like, this is the right product for them? Well, the only way to know is go out and get 10 customers who are willing to already buy your products before you've actually gone out and created it. So don't go and start by going out trying to create the product. Start by going out and getting 10 customers who want to buy it. And if you actually really want to check it out, go start a Kickstarter campaign and say, right, here's my product, and then go send everyone you know to it and say, would you buy this? Because if no one's going to buy it, then don't even go out and create it. If you actually say, but I do want to create it, right? It's like you get 10 people who say, I'm going to buy this thing, and you get the price point, and it's done. Great. Then it's easy to go out and find guys that actually can do Bluetooth, right? I mean, I'll go right now. Here we go. So I go on here, right? And I just say, I'm just looking Bluetooth developer, right? That's all I'm looking for. And straight away, what comes up? You guys can do this with me if you want. Let's imagine you want to find someone who's going to develop for you, right? Develop with Bluetooth. Bluetooth's got a whole community on here right now. Developer's Guide to Bluetooth. Developer studios hire today's leading Bluetooth developers. This is on TopTal. TopTal is one of the top places out there. So I can click on here. You've also got developer for Apple developers as well, so who also do for Bluetooth. So I've clicked on this one, TopTal. it's now giving me a list of all of the top people. Here's Jason in Canada. Here's like Superman in the United States. Here's Javier in Argentina. Here's Arthur in Russia. They're all basically all coders that actually are using firmware and building Bluetooth devices, right? So they're all there, right? So, and that's toptail.com. But that was just that, like, really, it takes like a minute or two to just go. And by the way, I'm doing this for Bluetooth, but it doesn't matter who you're looking for. They're out there, and they're waiting for you to call them, right? So do know they're there. But like I said, like, prove the product before you actually go out and spend money on it is my advice, right? Which is why I put it there under the orange level, because it's all about connecting to flow first. Here's Yvette Martin. Hi, Roger. I'm really struggling to segment my market. I'm a sole trader operating as a strengths finder, coach, and consultant. Blaze Genius at orange level. In our Crystal Circle orientation call, you gave a lot of information about mastering my market, and my confusion is coming from the fact that I work with both individuals and corporates, which we kind of talked about a bit earlier. I enjoy them both, however, probably find more fulfillment in working with an individual over a longer period and supporting real transformation in their lives versus high-intensity, fun, and transformative corporate workshops. But they're like one-off events that only sometimes continue when a leader wants to personally work with me. So I'm also lost as to how I predictably create more corporate clients as my current clientele have all come from word-of-mouth referrals, etc. When I was a principal at Gallup. I'm confused myself further as the corporate work flows a lot more cash my way versus each individual. Should I stop working with both and just focus at one? And if so, what do you think is easier to connect with flow? So no, don't just focus at one. You've got two, but they're actually starting with the leaders that then lead into the corporate. So just be really aware that you need to have a product pathway. The reason you've got people coming and going is you haven't got an ongoing, consistent way for people to be paying you money every month for a particular product. A mastermind pays you every single month. A consulting contract pays you every single month. So you want to actually have more of a pathway that actually allows you to get paid every single month for people coming on board, so they see the value working with you over the whole year. And then when they then bring you into their company, that's when the workshops show up, and then you start running the workshops off the back of it. And you can have other people starting to run those workshops for you as well. This is all about you, like we've talked about in the past, building your own brand around this. So I gave the example, of like, some companies out there like Radco running Ataru or Peter Bulko running Fluid, where they've actually taken different products and put them into a product suite, which they've then branded as their brand, right? So you need about your own product suite, branded as your brand, which includes in it things like Talent Dynamics, things like StrengthsFinder, which then basically people want, and then from there you can then build basically your leadership team around that. That's the key to it. Bruce the Juice. What's the best advice or strategy to gain quick traction with an unproven product, unproven in New Zealand that is, but not around the world? So Bruce has this pretty awesome juicer, which is known around the world, but not that well known in New Zealand right now. And the answer is to create a movement, to create a campaign of some sort, a promotion. So put a promotion plan together where you're saying, right, we're going to actually have a movement to really make schools more healthy, right? And then get schools on board who actually want to be more healthy. So it's not about the juicer. Is about being healthy, and then the juice actually then becomes a solution, right? Or, you're going to go out with a campaign specifically for, fitness centers or for like retreats to actually test out and try, your juicer over a period of time, where you're actually going to install it for free and see the results that it comes out of it, and then off the back of that, then again, actually get people to go, wow, this works really, really well. But again, it's about like, what's the problem you want to solve first? Find those customers that want to solve that problem, and then go from there. And I know you already get great result when you go out to like festivals or fairs, going out to like marathons or programs where there's going to be a lot of people who are healthy who are looking for juice. So that process of doing that, I think that you're at a point right now where it's not about the proven product. It's about like getting to people that actually are looking for the juice in the first place, and then getting them to solve your problem. That was what I'd say for Bruce. Okay, so let's come over to, we're going to continue down here, and we're going to come to, I think we've got a few more orange level questions, and then we've got a few red, and then a few general. So we have here, okay, no, we've got a few here. Okay, I won't lose my track here. We've got Nina. Alrighty, so we've got Nina here, and Nina says, hi Roger, one of my businesses is a consultancy working with leaders of flexible and remote teams to help them solve their communication, collaboration, and cultural challenges. I'm currently at orange level, just graduated from red, so congratulations, Nina. Working a contract in this field, but I'm concerned that I'm not getting to own any IP generated under the contract. I'm going to create a profile. The IP I'm creating is something I know I want to use with other businesses. Is staying in the contract more important than owning the IP? At this point, when you are just getting to red level, staying in the contract is the most important thing. You will always have more IP coming your way. Your thoughts are still your thoughts. You can be putting your thoughts into other people's contracts and other people's programs, and you can still repeat those thoughts, and they're still your thoughts. You haven't like given away your thoughts that never to use them again, right? So you'll have the chance to productize in the future. But at this point, it's all about making sure the cash flow is coming in and that you're buying your time to then be able to go out there and get additional contracts. And then once you've got those additional contracts, you've got enough cash flow coming in, you can actually then squeeze back your time and start using that time to then productize. But do it one thing at a time. Don't be thinking at this point, I'm going to stop working so I can just hold on to my idea, because there's always a better idea coming, right? And the more you're connected with your customer, the more you're going to find out what idea is the most valuable. Okay, super important to do that. Okay, so William says here, hi, I just found out I'm a star. Till now, I've tried to figure it all out by myself. Big smiley face. How do I attract the right team? And the answer is, at the red to orange level, the answer is you don't need to. You go connect to other people where you can shine a light on them, right? So connect to their team. So it's not so much as a star who's going to be in my team. It's more as a star who needs a star in their team. I'll go work with them. I'll partner with them. I'll shine a light on their stuff. They'll go, wow, you just made me more money. That's really awesome. They'll then want to work with you. And then as time goes on, then you start building your own team. And then you'll find people who go, I want to come work with you because you've got all this flow happening, right? And the first person you want to find is a deal maker, which is like 2 along. So the deal maker is going to be able to then manage all of your deals that you're doing, and then you can go out and keep on shining. Then you'll need to find a law to actually then count the money, right? And that's basically the triangle. Everyone's got a triangle like that within wealth dynamics, which is really important. Okay, let's come over here to Peter. Peter Solway. For someone at Orange working on moving to yellow who's attending performance consultant training. So great, you're coming out for that, Peter. We're doing both performance consultant training and also master training in Bali in July, for those of you who are coming and joining us. Does it make sense, and what value would I gain from attending the Exponential Entrepreneur? Yes, it definitely makes sense. Like the Exponential Entrepreneur, we run twice a year. We run one in London. We're going to run the next one in Bali straight after the performance consultant training. What's so phenomenal about this event, and the reason that so many people come rave about it, is because we get people into groups and we basically say, regardless of whatever your idea is, here are the principles of creating a rocket ship. Here's the principles of creating an exponential business that can actually become worth $1 million in a very short period of time, and then become worth $10 million. And then now that you've got the principles, go create a business, right? So every team together has to think from scratch. So it does not matter which level you're at. The fact that you've got to think from scratch and go, oh my God, like this is how 19, 20-year-olds end up with like multi-million-dollar businesses. They didn't have all the baggage. They just started from scratch and they said, I can't be doing something which is all about my time. I can't be doing something that I can't scale. And so it's like, well, then all those ideas are out. It'll have to be something here. And every team comes out with amazing ideas, and then we have this big competition, and we have one winner at the end, right? It's super awesome. All within 2 days that we do this, right? So definitely come, because it's such an eye-opener for everyone, and then it stops you from making a lot of decisions which are currently stopping you from growing. It's like, like if you want to build a rocket ship, don't start by trying to build a bicycle, right? Where you got to pedal it, right? So many of us are building bicycles, we're pedaling on our own. This stops you from doing that. So that's my answer. And if you guys are interested in that, come along, right? Like find out more about it and come join us. Liz Reed says, hello, Roger. I'm a supporter at Red Level. I'm building a property portfolio at the same time as working a lot of hours as a carer to the elderly. Please, can you help me understand what a supporter does? So obviously brand new here. Sometimes I feel quite invisible, and like the best things happen when I get out of the way. Is that normal for a supporter? I feel like my role is in supporting my investors, my team, my tenants. What's the best way for a supporter to move beyond Red Level? The answer is to actually be looking after a team. Like there's a good chance there'll be someone somewhere that says, hey, I need help like building my team. And you can be the one helping to lead the team. So supporters are great at doing that. Pick up Your Life, Your Legacy and read the whole chapter on supporters, because you get all the stories in there of Meg Whitman and how she did it. You've got the stories there of like Jack Welch and how he did it. And it's like, oh, each of them actually built a team and they supported someone who's a really high-level creator or star that allowed them to actually then not have to worry about coming up with the idea of the business. It was all about who. And then they were actually create a fly around that, right? And just look at people in our team, like people like Michelle, who runs our partnerships, she's a supporter profile. Jess, who runs our events, she's a supporter profile. Suraj, who runs all of our Genius marketing, like he's a supporter profile, where each of them basically are able to use my wood from my creator, turn it into fire, which is their supporter. And then as a result of that, I couldn't do anything that I do without having supporters actually support me to actually lead all the different teams that we have that are out there. So that's what a supporter does. Carol says, hello, Roger. I'm a creator and working as a consultant and mentor for fitness business owners and entrepreneurs in the Czech Republic. As far as I have tried to succeed in this market, I worry that in our country, it isn't enough of the right people for me, but the knowledge for the fitness business owners is quite similar from the rest of the world. I'm doing lots of online stuff like courses. This is the reason why I'm thinking about more global impact. I feel bigger potential to go global than only in our small Czech market. What do you think about it, and what do you suggest? I'm a red level now. Thank you in advance. Too early to go global when you're red level, but not too early to already get connected in with global movements or global networks. So if you look and say, well, which is a fitness company or a company out there globally that I should be learning from, do that. And of course, you're part of this community, so learn from us as well. But the way for any company to go international, if you're in one country, is decide on which is your second country. Really, it's as simple as that. It's like don't just try and go to 200 countries at once. So I'm in one country, which is going to be my next country. There's a reason that Facebook, Google only allow you to advertise by country, because they know that every country is different, right? So don't go and try to go everywhere all at once. Just say, right, like if at Czech Republic I want to do more than here, what would be my second company? And no, you can't grow globally unless you've actually got a product brand as well, right? So if it's just your time, obviously you can't do that without stretching your time across different countries. But if you've got a product that then can actually be used in a different country, then you can start to grow. So the real question is, what's your product brand going to be? And go look at people that have been in the Czech Republic or elsewhere that have gone and opened up another country. What was their model? What did they do? So you can actually kind of like learn from them and have them as your role models as you go forward as well. Okay, last questions are general questions, right? So we have one here, which is from Alex. As a futurist, what do you see being the biggest disruption to entrepreneurship over the next 5 to 10 years? And you cannot pick blockchain. That's like asking me in the 1990s, what is going to be the biggest disruption in the next 20 years, and you can't say the internet. It's obviously going to be blockchain, right? It just is. And I really believe we're at a time at the moment where we're going to look back in 10 years' time, and we're going to say, wow, we were at the same point in 2018 as we were in 1998, where the internet was just taking off, and there was still less than 100 million people on it. And now there's like 3 billion, going 4 billion people on it. And we're exactly the same point right now when it comes to basically not just blockchain, but also accessing the internet outside of your mobile phone, right? Like now it's about Alexa, is voice. It's going to be AR. It's going to be like, different ways that it's going to be goggles, different ways we access the internet, where we're going to look back at mobile phones the same way we look back at pages, and we go, wow, can you imagine we actually would carry those around with us everywhere? It just won't be a thing in 10 years' time. So we're going to see a massive shift in interface together with a massive shift in our ability to track and trust each other. Because what happened 20 years ago is it was all about like a URL for a website. Like, every website has its own IP address, which is this unique identifier. Now it's every transaction, which is what blockchain is, having its own unique identifier, which means you don't even need a website for it. It can go anywhere, right? And so that's the power of what's about to happen. It's going to shift everything. Come back to this recording in 10 years if you don't believe me. That's the biggest thing. Okay, we've got Pavel. Hi Roger, I just joined this platform recently. I would like to know how it works. I have some interesting projects, and how can I get connected with the right people? First thing is, Pavel, get on and do the actual guide, which is on Genius U, which actually takes you through the steps of how to use it, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, after you've done that, go to the Find Your Flow microdegree. Take that microdegree, because it actually explains every single step of Genius U and how it works. So you've got that as well. And the third thing is, if you join the World Game is going to have a brand new microdegree coming up called 10 Times Your Impact on the 10th of June. And that's going to actually go to the next level in terms of how Genius U is going to be used. And so look out for that one as well. But there's already some actions you can take. We've got Marie Rizika. Roger, is it possible for you to draw the visual of the Buckminster Fuller quote, the vector equilibrium? The vector equilibrium is the 0 point for happenings or non-happenings. It is the empty theater, an empty circus, an empty universe, ready to accommodate any act and any audience. Thank you in advance. Marie Rizika. Okay, so, well, that's a slightly different question. If you guys know, I'm a big fan of Buckminster Fuller, and Buckminster Fuller actually believed that the whole world, in fact, let me do this. I would do exactly what you ask, and I would draw this out for you. So the way he talked about it is he says that the whole world, the whole universe actually, is in equilibrium already, right? And he basically was he's the guy who created the geodesic dome, right? Which basically is all based on the vector equilibrium, which is that you've got something which has basically got what he called tensegrity, right? So the idea of tensegrity is that you actually have got the whole, this is like triangles upside down on each other, and you've got like the whole, if you were to take idea of something which is in compression and something which is in tension at the same time, that's tensegrity. It's like both together, and vector equilibrium is the only shape which actually links all of this together, right? If you, let me actually write it down here as well. If you actually were to take any different distance on this to every other distance, they all directly are in exact equilibrium with each other. and each one of them is either in tension or it's in compression. And it's basically like triangles, like a tetrahedron, linked together with a cube. And it's actually called a cuboctahedron, right? That's what it's called. And actually, if you look at it all in the point in the middle, they all directly link up together. So this here is, have I done this right? Something like this. This here is something that you will kind of notice if you're kind of like into sacred geometry, because it kind of links into all this as well. And it looks like that. That looks like that, right? So that's what it looks like as a cuboctahedron, right? And this whole thing here, the idea of a vector equilibrium, this is basically what he talked about in terms of basically the balance of the universe, right? So this whole idea that a vacuum is never actually a vacuum, right? A vacuum basically has got within it like all these opposing forces, which are kind of like canceling each other out, which pretty much now, like after he's gone, like all of quantum mechanics and everything that we actually know about how actual fields and atoms work is pretty much exactly that, right? That like, you've got matter and antimatter and all just cancels itself out. But basically he saw this as basically the image of what it looks like, right? So every one of those lines that I've drawn there, each one of them is actually all linked up together in such a way that some are in compression, some are in tension. And he actually used this to actually create like geodesic domes, which actually is like how we saw the whole universe actually linked together. So why is this actually even important? The way I think about it is I think that if you're always looking at this concept of dynamic tension, so dynamic tension is always about where you've actually got at any one time, like things that are moving away from, things that are moving towards, things that are feeling like they're compressing, things that are moving like they're stretching, right? That whole idea of all those different elements happening actually allows you to see how everything links together. I think of this from legal terms, right? So think about something like if you want to expand, right? What needs to happen, the opposite of expand is contract, right? The word contract is a legal document, right? So if we say we're going to have a partnership with someone, which means like, let's work together, right? Then there's an expansion that's going to happen. That expansion needs to have a contraction. It needs to have a contract. So the contract then becomes the kind of balancing to the expansion. So everything then has a way that everything links to itself. So the promises grow, but the promises also collect back on themselves as well. And I'm always thinking in that way when I'm thinking about growth, is that what is it that keeps everything in balance as we're doing this as well, right? So that's a good way to think about it in terms of like even the reason we might have a lawyer in the first place is someone who's managing your expansion, right? Hopefully that helps. Okay, let's get back onto track here. We have got here Jana, who says here, question, hello, can we please get a recording from Prague with the translation? I'd like to hear it again. And the answer is yes, you can, because Jan is helping with that. And also a question of how can I use interconnection with people here in the group with the business? What do I do on the site? So that was a question we had earlier. And so again, I know Jan's going through some sessions with you guys in the Czech Republic. And so that's what I would say is go through that same micro degree as we go as well. And that brings us to the end of all of our questions here. I do hope that this has been a interesting and useful session for you. I do think also that over the next week, over the next month, we're going to have a super exciting month because of the launch of the World Game. So look out for that coming as well. Do join it already if you haven't. You're going to find it on Genius U. There's a group there that you can join. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next live call or at one of our events. If you're going to be at our Perth, our Melbourne events coming up, or even in Taiwan or Brisbane in the coming month as well. So we'll catch up with you on our next session. And we look forward to hearing all about your next successes and questions in the coming month. See you later.